Welcome back to Nordic Tales. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. Before we begin, take a moment, leave a comment, and tell us where in the world you're listening from tonight. It's good to know we're not alone in the dark. So, settle in, lower the lights, and let me tell you a story. They tell this, one, in the western fjords of Norway, where the rivers run black and cold from the high snow, and every farm has a stretch of water it does not speak of after dark. On one such farm, at the foot of a great waterfall, there lived a young man named Mikkel. He was a quiet sort, and he loved only one thing in this world more than his little sister Ingrid, and that was the fiddle. Mikkel played every evening on the porch above the dark tarn, but he was not good. His fingers were clumsy, and the notes came out thin, and at the dances in the village, the other boys would smile behind their hands. His grandmother saw how it ate at him. One night, she took his hands in hers, and she told him the old thing, the thing the family did not say aloud. Under the falls, she whispered, lives the Fossegrim, the fiddler in the water. They say he can teach a man to play so sweetly that the trees lean down to listen and the river forgets to run. But he does not teach for nothing. You must bring him an offering on a Thursday night with your back to the church, a young white goat, plump and unblemished. And if the offering is poor, he will only teach you to tune the strings. And if you ask for more than you have paid for, he will take the rest himself. Mikkel asked what she meant, but the old woman only looked at the dark water and would not answer. For weeks Mikkel tried to forget, but the longing would not leave him. He would lie awake and hear, beneath the roar of the falls, something else, a thread of music, faint and unbearably beautiful, that stopped the very moment he sat up to listen. And one Thursday, when the moon was thin and the house was asleep, he could bear it no longer. He took the finest young goat from the pen. He turned his back to the distant church, and he carried the offering down the wet black stones to the edge of the tarn, where the waterfall thundered into the dark. He laid the offering at the water's edge, and he waited. The falls roared. The cold crept into his bones, and then the roar softened. The water stilled, and out of the white spray, where no man could possibly sit, there was a figure, pale, naked, but for long hair like riverweed, and a fiddle cradled against a shoulder that gleamed wet in the moonlight. It did not look at Mikkel. It simply began to play. And the music. Mikkel wept, and did not know that he was weeping. It was every sorrow he had ever felt, and every joy he had been too small to hold, all at once. "Give me your hands," the figure said, in a voice like water over stone. And Mikkel, trembling, held them out across the dark surface. Cold fingers closed around his, and the lesson began. When Mikkel came home before dawn, he was changed. He sat on the porch, and he lifted his fiddle, and what came out of it was not human. The cattle in the byre went still. Birds woke in the dark and fell silent to listen. His grandmother came to the door, and when she heard it, she did not smile. She pressed her hand to her mouth, and the color left her face. "What did you give him?" she said. "What did you pay?" Mikkel told her. "Only the goat, only the white kid." But she shook her head slowly. "The meat was fat," she whispered. "But you asked for more than tuning. You asked for everything, and he will come for the rest." Mikkel did not listen. Why would he? At the next dance, when he played, the whole village stood as if struck. Grown men wept. Girls who had laughed at him could not meet his eyes. He had what he wanted. He had more than he had ever dreamed. It started small. People began to walk in their sleep. A farmhand was found at dawn, soaked to the waist, standing in the shallows of the tarn. with no memory of how he came to be there. A child wandered from her bed towards the sound of a fiddle that no one else could hear, and always, beneath the falls, the music played. Mikkel's music now, woven into the river's own. His grandmother begged him to stop, to throw the fiddle into the falls and give the gift back. But Mikkel could not. The fiddle was the only thing that made him feel alive. And besides, he told himself, the music was beautiful. How could something so beautiful be wrong? And down at the farm, every single night, the black water waited. On Midsummer night, the whole village came to the farm to hear him play. Bonfires burned on the hills, and Mikkel played as he had never played before. And one by one, without knowing it, the listeners turned toward the water. His little sister Ingrid stood at the front, her eyes far away, a small dreaming smile on her lips, and as the last note left the strings, she stepped off the porch. She walked down the wet stones, toward the black tarn, toward the roar of the falls. And she was not alone. All of them were walking now, the whole village, drawn down to the edge of the dark water like moths to a flame. Mikkel saw his sister's bare foot touch the surface, and in that moment, the spell broke in him, and he understood at last what he had paid, and what was still owed. He screamed her name. He threw the fiddle down, and from the white spray of the falls, a pale figure rose, fiddle in hand, and smiled at him. You asked for everything, it said, and everything has a price. Mikkel ran into the black water after her. The villagers woke on the shore, cold and confused, the music gone, but Mikkel and Ingrid were not among them. They dragged the tarn for 3 days. They found nothing. No bodies ever rose from beneath the falls, but the fiddle washed up on the stones, unbroken, its strings still faintly humming. They say that on quiet nights, when the falls run low, you can still hear 2 fiddles playing down in the dark, one learning, one teaching. And every midsummer, the family that still works that farm leaves an offering at the water's edge, a young white goat, plump and unblemished, not to learn, only to be left alone. Because some gifts can never be given back. They can only be paid for. Thank you for listening. If this story found its way under your skin, subscribe to Nordic Tales so the dark always knows where to find you. Until next time, sleep well. And whatever you do, if you hear music on the water, don't follow it.